Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens with your hosts, Jake and Scott. And today, we're talking chicken cock with National Brand Ambassador Will Woodington. So sit back and buckle into the latest episode of the Bourbon Lens. Will, glad to have you back. We love repeat guest and also a friend, right? We love having friends on the podcast. So thanks for hanging out with Scott and I as we navigate my daughter having night terrors before we record this.
It just sounds fun.
Yeah.
A single-digit temperature is a screaming daughter. You know, what more could you ask for? But gentlemen,
glass of whiskey.
That's
find
right.
the mini bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does solve both. But it's a pleasure to be back on, guys. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah, it's great. And I know you have a busy week coming up. You were off yesterday. You're in Michigan today and then jet setting to Vegas tomorrow?
Vegas tomorrow, a quick turnaround, come home the next day, and then a little Kentucky trip on Monday. So
no rest for the weary.
No rest.
Scott, could you do an out and back to Vegas? I don't think I could do it.
I've never been to Vegas, interestingly enough. So I think I could do it.
Oh yeah. Well, we need a Bourbon Lens trip to Vegas now. I mean, anything over 72 hours, you screwed yourself, I believe. But if you can go under 72 hours, you will not break the bank. You will have seen a show. You will have eaten too much food and drinking too much booze.
I just want to get out there for a Formula One race.
It does look pretty cool. And did you see the people that did the elevator thing? So as long as you kept moving and you rode the elevators, you could see it. So there was like people that just walked the strip and walked the elevator the entire time.
Yeah, because they put in like an ordinance, like they could ticket you for standing. I'm like, is this not America? Like
Loitering.
Literally, they would ticket people. So they were just like, I'll just get on the moving escalator and, smart people.
Yeah. I mean, got to keep it pushing. So, Will, there's been a lot that's happened since we talked last in 2023. Chicken cock continues to grow. You continue to make investments and plant your flag in Bardstown. And the big thing since we last talked was really the opening of Circa down there on the square, a beautiful building that you all have kind of touched up and put your all's flair on right on the backside of City Hall. What's it like to have your own brand destination now?
Man, it is just wonderful. I mean, it's a dream come true, really, because I mean, having our tasting room Circa 1856 down there just aids us in an ability to have a physical touch point for our brand, be on the in the epicenter of the Bourbon Trail. Make amazing cocktails with our whiskey and express those, do private events, host, our distributors, retailers, all that kind of stuff. Right. So it just aids us in all of that. But to have a brand home for the first time in really over 100 years for chicken cock whiskey is really an amazing thing. So we got that ship off and running. You came to the grand opening. It was such a fun time. And we continue to just get more and more visitors in that door week by week. And it's amazing to see. Yeah,
we got to get Scott down there because now, Scott, you can add it to your pass because it is now a official stop on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. As of today.
Stamp.
Yeah, get it. What does that mean to you all, right? Like now I feel like you're official now.
Yeah. No, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, it's just official today that we're part of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, and I mean to be part of that and associated with all the amazing brands that are on that list. We're in great company, of course, but being officially part of the Bourbon Trail, we already had momentum going just by opening up Circa 1856 and having it in the spot that it is. It draws a lot of eyeballs. It's a yellow house. It says chicken cock out front. I mean, you can't miss it, right? But being part of this list, obviously, is going to get exposure to the millions of visitors that go to the trail every single year. And again, that location that we're in, it's really, you got no excuse to not visit us when you're down that way. So I think that this is definitely going to take us to that next level. And we are so proud to be part of the list now.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for reminding me. I have no excuse now.
Yeah, 100%. And, one of the things that I appreciated at the grand opening was the cocktails. Now, I don't think you've probably ever been as busy as you were that day for the grand opening. It was the team was working hard, but it was a long road to hoe to get a cocktail. But when you got one, it was upscale, and your boss has done a lot of work to create a awesome beverage program there. And I think those are the things that people don't know behind the scenes. Like it's you, your leader, the team that's working there, Emily, that are putting in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make sure that it's not just a building where you can get a pour, it's an experience.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have the footprint to work with that some of the larger scale brands do with on-site rick houses, all that stuff, right? We're in a historical home. It's got a nice, little out shed that we have a 30-gallon still in, actually, which is pretty fun. But we have to condense down and work with the space that we're given, and what we've done with that space, what Emily and her team have done, what Tyler, my boss, has done in the cocktail program, helping everybody just came in to get this thing off the ground with the best foot forward possible. And I think everybody crushed it. Everybody, we're so proud of everybody. But it's just the cocktail program is really incredible. I mean, the drinks, when I first tasted them, all the way from the ones that use our core expressions to the more things that use our limited expressions like Chanticleer and a Wildflower in Paris. All those kind of drinks are just so creative. They're very vibrant. They match the brand's attitude. The bar, if it's a packed day, it's a little bit tougher to get a cocktail. We can only sit 8, but make your way in there. It's going to be completely worthwhile in the end to wait for one of our cocktails.
For sure. Bardstown is vibrant now. It's not just Mammy's and what is it, like Main Street Bar or whatever it was, or Third Street Tap Room. It's grown up, and it's definitely going to support the consumer.
I remember going out in Bardstown, and you kind of just wander around looking for somewhere to go, and then you just end up at the old Talbot Tavern or Mammy's. But now it's like there are cocktail bars to go to. There are places to go and sit and have a drink and an experience. And I mean, we talked about this on a recent podcast, but for a brand to have a home is so critical for all of the whiskey brands that might not have the big distillery or, have the rick houses for you to walk through, but just having a place to show off your product and tell the story. I mean, that's what people are looking for.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the age of, authenticity, and we are unapologetically chicken cock. And I think part of that authentic piece is having the physical touch point to go to in the place that it's made, in the city that it's made, So again, like you said, while we don't have that footprint of some of those bigger brands, we utilize that space to make it like you're coming into our home. You're not a ticket. You're not a number to us, right? We want to show you what the brand's about, steep you in its history, get you some cool merch out on the way out, and a great cocktail, and should just share everything chicken cock, and it's just been amazing to be able to do that.
You sell those nice sweaters you got there?
We sure do.
Whiskey.
See, I'm plugging right here. All right, just go to chickencockwhiskey.com and you can get this beautiful crew neck and a bunch of other stuff that we have for winter. No, I love our merch. Even if I didn't represent the brand, I would be wearing this stuff. It's amazing.
How many questions do you get walking down the street? You're like, what the heck? What's chicken cock?
I wear chicken cock stuff in the airport, and that's always the funniest because I just kind of candidly watch everybody's eyeballs go down to my shirt and just be like, wait, what did I just see?
My eyes are up here, guys. My eyes are up here.
It's on the front. It says chicken cock on the back of my head. So I'm just branded on every part.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, when you're the national brand ambassador, you got to make sure that people understand what's happening nationally. And I tell you what does stand out is this beautiful bottle. If you've not seen the chicken cock bottle, it is phenomenal. I'm holding it here. You'll see this if you're catching this on YouTube. But the chicken wire glass inlay with the nice rooster here, or cock, standing proud. And this is the 100 proof small batch aged 5 years, which I hadn't tried until just now. And it is a delightful pour at 100 proof. And I think that's what people don't get enough credit for. And one of our Patreon members, Caroline, definitely shouted that out. We were crowdsourcing some topics, and we'll get to some of those later. She commented on how pretty the bottle is. Her words, not mine. It is a gorgeous bottle. And I don't think people pay enough attention to packaging, and you all crush packaging.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's something, another factor that we're very, very proud of. The great thing on our packaging, I think we touched on this, a couple of years ago when I was on, but it's just, it's real. It's a real replica bottle from what chicken cock used to look like during the 1920s. It used to be made as this pure Canadian rye for a brief time, and it was smuggled down south. And they made the bottle exactly like that in a pint form, and they would package that in a tin can, and they would smuggle it down south. And so we took that exact bottle design, we revived the brand, and just bumped it up to a 750 milliliter. And man, I don't think there's a better bottle in the game. I just don't. It's just, there's nothing like it. And I just love the attitude, the feel, the look. It's gorgeous. But if you look at our other bottles too, our double oak, or you see that medicinal sunburst 1920s looking bottle, that's also a replica. That's what it looked like when it was made as a medicinal bourbon here in the United States. So we have a long, rich history. We lean into it. One of the ways we do that is obviously with the replica packaging.
Yeah. Well, and I think, getting to the packaging, but also how you've created the liquid, right? You have a best-in-class sourcing partner that you work with that can make you anything you really want to create or recreate what was. And so, that leads us to the next question. You do have this ability to pretty much do whatever, and you all are kicking it into high gear. What's on the horizon for Chicken Cock as we look at 2025? Because we're right at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, we've got a lot of exciting stuff going on. First and foremost, as the brand ambassador, it's lovely when my calendar is kind of outlined for me for the year, because it can get chaotic otherwise. I say that because we're showing up at some really amazing events, including trade events like BarCon at Brooklyn, Portland Cocktail Week, obviously Kentucky Bourbon Festival, Bourbon and Beyond, lots of great whiskey festivals throughout the year. So I'm excited for that. But, in terms of product, we are going to have something that's going to be dropping here in March, which we're very excited for. So, we had touched on the rye a little bit. Jake, I know we got you a bottle and stuff like that. I'm a huge fan of our rye, and many people are too, because it's very approachable and it's got a lot of character to it. And I love that. It's, our standard Kentucky straight rye is 90 proof. It's got a 95.5 mash bill to it. So it's got that high rye, mash, and it just presents you with great flavors like citrus, spearmint, a little bit of sweetness and everything. So it makes it super approachable, whether you want to drink it straight, but if you want to drink it in a cocktail, even better. And we thought, well, let's play with our rye a little bit. We're going to be bringing back one of the all-time favorites from a few years ago, which is Righteous Blonde. And Righteous Blonde, if you recall it, is where we took our Kentucky straight rye whiskey and we aged it in blonde ale barrels from our friends Goodwood Brewery. So that release was phenomenal. It came out before I joined up with the team, so I'm excited to see how this go around is. But you can expect that rye. It's going to be a straight rye whiskey. It's going to be aged for a minimum of 4 years. Our standard rye, is usually aged for a minimum of 2. So it's going to have a little bit extra age on there. And then, of course, proofing is going to be a little bit different as well. Great thing is this is just going to be another step up from our Kentucky straight rye on the shelf, which typically retails, in that $59 to $69 range. And Righteous Blonde, this next go around is going to be just a little step above that. So it's going to be very approachable. It's going to have great flavor. Goodwood's blonde ale has amazing flavors that really are going to complement our rye super well. So we're very excited for that. And then, you can always expect Chicken Cock to come out with some kind of holiday limited release. We are going to be working on that. Basically, I can't share any specific product information with you just yet. Can't spill the beans there. But, there's a story that goes back to the year 1860 when James A. Miller founded the Chicken Cock brand. And it's one of tragedy, but we're trying to turn it into one of great joy. He was shipping a bunch of barrels on this ship called the A.O. Tyler. It was coming down the Ohio River on its way probably for New Orleans to be distributed. And that ship crashed and sank with all of his barrels on board that were uninsured. So I think we're going to try and get those barrels back, is basically what I'm saying. So expect something cool from us coming. Obviously, more details to come once we get closer to that date. But we're very, very excited for that release.
Well, and you all have continued to push the boundaries when it comes to finishing casks or doing something unique, right? Kentucky Bourbon Festival last year. So if we rewind and look back, one of my favorite pours from KBF was the Mizunara release that you all had. It is a exceptional bourbon. And Scott, I don't know if you tried it at KBF, but I know you have tried it now. And you had some really great thoughts. And so I'd love for you to share, what you thought about it with Will and for the listeners.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to try it at KBF, but I sat down with it last night, maybe the night before, and it like took me back in time to like early in the founding of the podcast, like sitting in a cigar lounge sipping bourbon. Like it was just like cedar. It was like had a little bit of like a smoky characteristic to it, and it just tasted like good old Kentucky bourbon. I think what I told Jake was it tastes like I'm sitting in Riverside Cigar Bar drinking a JTS Brown with the cigar. Like JTS Brown, obviously one of my favorites. It's just good old Kentucky bourbon. And it just took me back there, and I was like, wow, I was like, that memory just, so yeah, well done on the Mizunara. I thought it was really damn good.
Oh man. Yeah, thank you very much. I have to agree with you. It's just our bourbon already has great flavor to it, but Mizunara Oak, it's super rare, right? That's why you don't see it out there, and it's very, very expensive to make barrels from, and very hard to cooper barrels from, and blah blah blah. It's such a tough oak, right? To work with, and so we didn't really know how it was going to come out. We hadn't used Mizunara before, and so we had filled the barrels up, multiple times with water because the density between American and Mizunara is much different. So you got to do that to make it swell. And then we did a toasting to those Mizunara barrels, which is just going to caramelize all the great sugars in wood, and then rested it, in those barrels for 10 months and 17 days at the top parts of the rick house. So they were able to soak up all that great flavor, and man, it added all those great sandalwood, cedar sort of vibes to it, right? The smokiness or the tobacco notes they're kind of speaking of, I think, are reminiscent of like a cigar. I haven't tried Mizunara with a cigar, but now you're making me want to, because I agree with you. There's just so much depth to this release.
If it wasn't so damn cold outside, I would entertain that thought as well. But it is way too cold for a cigar right now. Yeah.
Well, what was interesting was KBF was hot as balls, to put it lightly, at some points of the day, and I was like drinking it in a tannic palate, which it is. It's not something you necessarily want to like, yay me. But when the line was dead, I was like, I got to get a pour of this. So, is what it is. Super, super cool to be able to be one of the first people to try it, because when you go to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, which is the first week of September this year, be on the lookout. They're going to put out dates in February like they always do. Snag a ticket early, because you don't know what's going to happen. And last year was special release heaven. You all did something, and literally everyone else did. And that's what makes Kentucky Bourbon Festival awesome.
Yeah.
And so, this time don't have a golf trip, Will.
I know. That's on me. I sadly had to miss last year, but I'll be there this year.
That a boy. Well, see, you got your calendar worked out. You figured it out.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key.
Well, and it's going to be a great week because it leads into Labor Day. So you're going to kick off of college football, and then you're going to go right into Kentucky Bourbon Festival. It's going to be a hell of a weekend. And man, September will be here before I know it.
Yeah.
And it's the first weekend of September this year, right?
Yeah. So
it's early.
Labor Day falls on like the 1st, I believe. And then KBF is like the 4th, 5th, and 6th.
So I'll just go ahead and take off that whole week.
Yeah, just take off the whole week. That's what I'm doing. Our PTO resets in August randomly, so I already took the week off.
Yeah, there you go. No, we're looking forward to it, man. I'm excited for it. We're going to have a even better presence than last year, I think. So,
Well, there's only one way to go, up.
Exactly. Yeah. No, just and speaking on small batch again, I forgot to touch on this, but we're super proud of small batch. I am so I was blown away by how much complexity it added to our bourbon just by giving it 10 more proof points, a little bit more age, and then making it from a smaller batch of barrels, right? Our typical blue label bourbon out there is made from 42 to 60 roughly, and the small batch is typically capped at like 12 barrels. And we're transparent about that. We put that on the front label. So it's 100 proof. And man, it just adds a longer finish, more viscosity, varying flavor characteristics that really just pop out. And We just won a bunch of great medals on that too, including Best in Show for state region category, regional double gold for the South, and national double gold at America's Best Beverages. So, people are listening. Small batch equals big flavor, man.
Yeah. Well, and there's no term for small batch legally defined. So I'm glad that your batch is actually small.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point, because that's what we went into it with. We want to make a true small batch. Well, there are no parameters around what that classifies as. You can make it from 2 barrels or 200. And so we said, let's keep it small. Let's keep it truly small. And so I'm glad we did that.
So then you said you put that on the label. So then there are individual batches as well. So then you put the batch number on the label.
You got it. Yeah. So we'll put, make sure I don't mix it up, but yeah, the top number is going to be your batch number up here. And then the amount of barrels is going to be right beneath that. So this one I have here is batch number 8. We use 10 barrels in that batch, and they usually come from varying rickhouse locations too. Typically the 5th and 7th floor. So you get varying characteristics in these barrels, which equals unique batches, unique flavors.
Yeah.
It's been great to taste these. Yeah.
So consequently, ours is very small of a batch. So we are FE 3 barrels.
Oh, you guys got the Field Ethos small batch right there. So that is a custom small batch that we did, where we only used 3 barrels that were selected. So that is something really unique. I haven't even tasted that one there, Jake. So you really got something special in your hands.
That's the event you're traveling for, right?
That's the event I'm traveling to help with tomorrow.
Oh, well, see, hey, anyone listening, tell them to come back to this podcast or go check out the website, because I'm going to write a review on this bottle, and it screams creme brulee from start to finish and shortbread cookies. It is a delightful whiskey. And that's what I think of when I want just a daily sip. I don't have to think about that. I'm just getting a little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of citrus, and a little bit of red fruit in there. And I feel like I'm sitting down at my favorite steakhouse, pick one in Louisville, whether it's Morton's or Jeff Ruby's or Pat's Steakhouse, and I'm having creme brulee.
Damn baller.
I don't go to steakhouses very often. I try to make it at home because it's cheaper. That's why I buy a cow. Save money and time.
Smart.
Save a bundle, buy more bourbon.
Exactly. If I bought more bourbon, my wife would shoot me though. So let's not do that. This is a bottle that the people out there, they will absolutely crush. And this would be in a cocktail. Put this in any cocktail. Besides Manhattans need to die on a vine.
Not for me, man.
I can't do vermouth. And everyone always tells me I can make you the most killer Manhattan you've ever tried in your life. And I tell them good luck. But this right here, as Cat Williams would say.
This one's super buttery. It's just.
That's why I like that shortbread cookie. That's what I get.
It's almost like it just kind of melts in your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the key is there's the sugary sweetness that's followed by the oak, and if you drink our 90 proof bourbon, obviously you get a lot of those great nice sweetness and spice notes and a good mix of complexity in there. But again, those 10 extra proof points, making this from a small amount of barrels, amplifies all those great flavors from our bourbon so much more. And again, I was blown away. And the great thing is too, is that if you're out there looking on the shelf, our normal blue label bourbon or 90 proof is $57, $59.99. This is small batch is only $10 more. So you're getting more proof, a little bit higher age, right? All that good stuff. I think it's great value, but I just love the way that it tastes. I agree with you.
Yeah. It's crushable. And I enjoy crushable whiskey. I don't need to think about it. That's one thing in 2025, I want to think less about whiskey, as I enjoy it. I just want to enjoy it, be in the moment, right? Sometimes we make everything over complex, and that's why I enjoy 100 proof whiskey, because I don't think about it too much. It's going to give me the layers of flavor I want, and I don't have to think about it.
Exactly. Yeah. And our bourbon is just super well balanced. Now, when you start getting into the LTOs, the limited releases, all that stuff, right? You sit back, you take your time. When I drink our shot to clear, I'm I don't want to get any text messages, phone calls. I don't want anything on TV. I don't want to, like, I just want to focus on the whiskey in my glass at that point. But it's to your point, like, it's just delicious. It doesn't make you overthink, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can sip this neat and have a ball doing that, or you can make a wonderful cocktail and do that. So small batches is really a winner.
Yeah, completely agree.
So going back to the Mizunara, what's the proof on that? Because that drinks like 100 proof bourbon. Like, it just,
yeah,
it's excellent.
Yeah, thank you. It's 105 that we proofed that one at.
Okay.
Yep. So, and what I've always noticed historically is that our whiskey really never drinks its proof. It always drinks below it, and that's a good thing. And it's not to say, and of course, a lot of whiskey nerds out here, it's not to say that it tastes watered down or muted. But right, it's always great when you can come out with 112 proof release and have it drink like 105, because all that means is that all the great flavors are coming out, but you're getting none of that or lesser of that alcohol burn that you would otherwise expect. Mm-hmm. So I totally agree. And I tried samples of this Mizunara release as it went along. I think I got some samples around the 3-month mark. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't know what to expect. A lot of Japanese Mizunara whiskey makers will age their whiskey in those barrels for years, sometimes decades. But that's similar to Scotland, that's similar to Ireland, that's similar to Canada, where it's colder temperatures, used barrels typically, right? They're going to age things for longer. So didn't really know how this was going to turn out, but got to the 3-month mark, tried the sample, and it was just way too spicy, way too oaky. I mean, all we're relying for in this Mizunara release is just wood, not a secondary spirit like cognac, not a beer, not, a wine. It's simply wood that we're depending on to bring all the amazing flavor. So it was an interesting process. And once we got to that 10-month, 17-day mark, we pulled those barrels. I tried this whiskey. It was also the samples I got were barrel proof. So you can only imagine we didn't know what proof this is going to be either. So, but once we got to that point, we bottled it at 105 proof. I tried it and it was just like, oh yeah. Oh, we pulled it at just the right time, I think. So, super, super pleased. And we only did 10 barrels of that as well. So usually, historically we've done 20, 25 barrel runs of limited time offerings. So this was cut in half or more.
Nothing like a good quality LTO. If you're gonna do it right.
Exactly.
That's the kind of the way I look at that. And so, we've had a variety of topics to hit on and want to keep the discussion going here. And so, one of the things you have talked about is innovation, right? So when you all think about it and you're all whiskey makers think about it, right? And in your partnerships, as you all kind of create this, what kind of goes into innovation? Is there an innovation team? Do you all kind of look at trends in the marketplace? How do you all kind of plan those next steps? Or do you let the story of Chicken Cock, as you all uncover it, kind of take you and guide you in that way? And this kind of got us thinking from a question that our good friend Simon on Patreon asked. And so this kind of ties into that. We've talked about a little teaser, right? We got the blonde ale, but just how does your innovation work?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's a little bit, there's a little bit of fluidity to it, right? Because we do have a brand image style feel that we're trying, that we want to achieve and always represent. And part of that is obviously Chicken Cock's historic nature, being such an old whiskey brand, being the stewards of it, but also bringing it into the 21st century and bringing a modern twist to it and reflecting our bold attitude. Again, we are unapologetically Chicken Cock, and we want to express that in every whiskey release that we do. But in terms of innovation, again, there is fluidity to it. We've done everything from not marketing partnership, but partnerships with various whiskey festivals, with different partners within the industry, with different partners outside of the industry. And we want to continue, exploring that. Again, going back to the Goodwood release that we did, that was a phenomenal release, and we want to continue to work with great partners like that. And in terms of innovation, we're not always trying to play the catch-up game with market trends. We want to do things our own way. We want to make sure that we are highlighting, our foothold in Kentucky as a historic Kentucky brand and express that in every way possible. And so what comes along with that is just making sure that we're maintaining the high standards that we've set out and have had and continue to have when it comes to making our whiskey. And like I said, in terms of innovation with our LTOs at the end of the year, again, those are going to reflect, I think, both with tying into Chicken Cock's history and doing something really innovative and creative along the way. So we want to make sure that we're playing into this rich history that we have, right? And we have in the past, but we want to continue to do that even more. And I think we can play around and come up with some amazing releases based off all the great talking points and touch points that we've had.
Yeah. So as you guys get a little bit older, we talked briefly, but you guys have been distilling for 5, 6, 7 years now. Your small batch bourbon is 5 years. Should we maybe expect a small batch rye in the future now that we've got some age on some of the rye?
Yeah, I don't want to make any commitments on behalf of the shareholders and all the good people, but no, I would love it if we did some more stuff with our rye whiskey. It's got tremendous flavor profile, and the older it gets, right, like Island Rooster that we came out with. I don't know if you've ever tried that one, but we use 4-year-old rye in that, and that's a tremendous release. So obviously our rye has tremendous flavor. The older it gets, the better it gets. Would love to play around with it more. Again, we're coming out with that Righteous Blonde release in March. That's going to be 4-year-old rye whiskey at minimum. So I would love to explore some more rye offerings in the future. But nothing guaranteed as of right now.
Yeah. No, you're ambassador for the brand, but also an advocate of the rye portfolio as well. So I know you're arguing for that one.
But here's my thing. You've had great success with your double oak limited time offering. Now we need rye double oaked. And I think that is what the consumer wants from my point of view, because your all's double oak is super crushable. Talking about a crushable whiskey.
So good.
It's so good.
Wish I had some more.
Yeah. But that's one of my things. Like double oaking is, Scott and I love double oaked whiskeys, and we've done multiple head to heads, and it's just always fun. Like whether it's Woodford or Peerless or Urals or whomever's, double oaked bourbon is just so much fun. It just amplifies the flavor, and just makes for a great night of drinking whiskey, to be honest, when you get 3 or 4 of those together and you're like, hey, this is what I like about this one. This is nuanced, right? Because the mash bill is different and all the fun things. And then you can pick out, as Scott says, the gnat's ass details, because that's what you want to be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And our double oak, it is different. I've presented it at whiskey festivals and all across the nation, all that good stuff, right? When people initially take a look at it, typically, they'll notice that, hey, it's, I'm used to Wood Forester 1910, Woodford double oak, or what have you. And they're expecting the same amount of darkness and richness. And you have to go into the story of how that whiskey was made, which it's not the typical way of, this was made as a bourbon, put into a brand new barrel, and then put into another brand new toasted barrel. It went through the process of being made as a bourbon, but then dumped into used casks, which is why it's called the Kentucky whiskey. Spent 7 years in those, and then we aged it in brand new oak for that extra year and a half. So you're not going to pick up as much color as you would those other products. You're not going to pick up as dominant and rich of an oak profile. But in my opinion, to your point, Jake, it is so drinkable. It is so delicious. To me, it just drinks like a great whiskey with some added oak influence to it.
Yeah.
Right. Which, I've had plenty of other pours of a lot of those other double oak products, and they are delicious. Don't get me wrong. But I can usually only have 1 pour of those, and then I'm good. They're too rich and over oak to have more than one, in my opinion. And our double oak, like I said, you can drink that all night.
I think I need to go find a bottle of that now. So I may be struck by lightning, aka my wife, if I do buy it. But oh, it's so good. It's like, it's like when it's like the scene from Old School when Will Ferrell's like, once it hits your lips, it's so good. And he's just like, Frank the Tank. That's just how I feel right now.
Yeah.
Just want to get the people going. That's all I want.
For sure. No, and I was chatting with Scott before we hopped on. We did some single barrel picks with Garden and Gun magazine, with New Orleans Bourbon Festival. a couple others, and we bottled our double oak at barrel proof, man, with a little bit extra age and bottle at barrel proof. That whiskey is even better. I mean, you'd be shocked at how good it is. It's some of my favorite we've ever done.
Scott, it means we need to make our purchase to New Orleans Bourbon Festival and go.
Yes, you do. I'll see you there.
Make some calls and yeah.
Hey, that's what we need to do. We need to make some calls. Hey, do you need some press?
Yeah.
But no, man, Will, I'm excited for the future of Chicken Cock. I know you are a great brand ambassador, but also just a great consumer of whiskey. And so always enjoy spending, time with you and hearing more about what y'all are doing. And thank you so much for the samples. And be on the lookout for some great pictures, because this stuff, like, I'm not the photographer of the two. That's more Scott. I even take good pictures of these bottles, which is impressive. So really excited about this and excited for this podcast to drop, because I think you all are an emerging brand, and you all have the staying power as a non-producing distiller to do some cool stuff, because you do have a destination. You do have a sense of place that people can connect to. And that's what I'm excited about for Chicken Cock.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jake, for all those kind words, for having, myself, the brand on again. It was super fun to just catch you guys up on everything going on, which obviously is a tremendous amount. We're looking forward to 2025, I think, more than ever. It's going to be a tremendous year. And I think we're going to come out with some new killer whiskeys and maintain our great attitude that we've been doing, and we're to go but up. So, like I said, if you're planning your trip to the Bourbon Trail, you can't miss us, but make sure you book your reservations at Circa 1856. Come on down, get some cocktails, get some merchandise, buy some bottles, get the whole experience, see what we're all about. It's a fantastic time. Our whole crew down there is amazing. So again, thank you guys so much for having me on, and I can't wait to do it again. Hopefully it's not another couple of years, but it's been fun.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it, Will. Safe travels tomorrow, and we look forward to catching you next time. And thanks everybody for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens. Make sure you're connected with Scott and I via social media on Instagram, X, and Facebook. We'd love to connect. And if you're more the professional type, follow us over on LinkedIn. If you want to know more about Bourbon Lens, make sure you're subscribed to our weekly newsletter, The Weekly Pour. For exclusive content and more, check out Patreon. Follow us there at Bourbon Lens. And last but not least, on your favorite podcast listening app, make sure you're subscribed, because every Monday, Scott and I release a podcast, and we would love to have you here listening to the newest features and the newest whiskey news. And until next time, cheers.